And then finally, we actually go into what we call the financial analysis. We take the three documents, we take a look at all the numbers, and we input and some formulas to actually discuss liquidity ratios, cash flow ratios, debt ratios, and profitability ratios. The combination of the four will actually tell you how well your business is doing. And mind you, some of these ratios, if not all of them, are what bankers are looking for with regards to when we go and apply for a loan, and we want to see if they're going to provide us with that loan. All right. So the financial fitness cohort. So what are we doing? So what's the expectation, right? What's the expectation of individuals that actually join our group? Okay. So the expectation is simple. Okay. We need the small business owners to commit to the program. And what do we mean by committing to the program? Well, there's a 4-week session, right, where we'll meet once a week. Okay. Followed on by follow-up sessions and quarterly sessions. The goal here, again, is not just to provide instructions, but to continuously provide the support that you're going to need, that we're going to need to go ahead and ensure that we are actually meeting our obligations, number one, but number two, to continue to provide you with that little extra push, that little extra guidance that can actually provide you with the know-how to be more successful. Okay, to be more successful. So here on the slide, what you will notice is our following cohort is actually going to meet on the 10th of March. Now, if you actually want to apply for the cohort, I'm sure that we're going to actually get some information to you. We're going to email it to you. But some of the prerequisites are this: you have to be in business for at least 1 year, and you have to have filed your taxes. Okay. And so ultimately, what we can do with that information is to figure out exactly where you sit. Okay. So again, the cohort is going to meet 10 March, followed on by some sessions in April, May, and June. Those are going to be monthly sessions. And then we're just going to go on to the quarterly sessions of 15 September, 1 December, then 2 March. We had our first cohort already. There's actually some individuals that actually participate in cohort 1 here online with us. And from the feedback that we got, I think it was very successful. I know it was very successful. Positive feedback. And again, I'd like to actually thank Colette for actually recognizing this and then allowing me to go ahead and present something that's going to help the small business owner. At this time, I'd actually like to take the opportunity to introduce the lovely Miss Robin Billups from the Billup Group.
Typical Zoom situation, take myself off of mute. Thank you, Chevy. That was wonderful. Again, I'm delighted to be your moderator today. We have 3 exceptional bankers who are going to be responding to some questions. We want this to be a conversation. We ask that you put any questions that you have in the chat box. We have about 3 or 4 leading questions that we're going to use, and we're going to kick it off. And I'm going to start out with, first, let me just say this. Ms. Karen A. Clark, again, you guys received quite a bit of email information about their bios. I hope that you had a chance to take a look at that. But I can validate for the fact that each one of these individuals are well-heeled in this area of commercial banking in particular, and lending in particular, and credit overall. And so Karen A. Clark is the multicultural marketing strategist for City National Bank. We want to thank you for being here today. We have our Mr. O.C. Isaac, who's the Senior Vice President and Chief Credit Officer of Pacific Coast Regional. Again, with a background working with CDFIs, he actually created and developed the SBA Community Advantage Program while serving as a presidential appointee for Barack Obama. So again, we have some heavy hitters here. And then we have Leonard Tangwa. I told Leonard I was going to mess up his last name, so I didn't. How about that?
You did very well. You did well.
Good. Leonard was formerly a vice president, commercial loan officer, Pacific Western Bank, and with a huge portfolio, $90 million loan portfolio. Retired in 2017. He's come on as a business advisor with Pacific Coast Regional. And let me back up and say that Karen A. Clark and I, we're Thelma and Louise. We've worked together for over 20 years. We've been on the road doing exactly what we're doing today, educating people around how to access capital. How do you get yourself bankable? What are some of the challenges that you're having in identifying resources? So we want to thank our panel for being here. So we're going to move right into our first question, and I'm going to throw this one to Leonard. What is the first thing a banker is looking for when someone is seeking a loan?
A creditworthy borrower. No, that's kind of a joke. So if you can envision sitting in an office in a bank and you'd have an individual come in, it is very important when you walk in to meet that banker that you have a clear explanation of a credible loan need that details everything about how the company is going to utilize those loan funds. And I focus on the word credible loan need because yes, we hear some really incredible ideas and some are so incredible that they are not credible. So we just really want to make sure that you can articulate what it is you are going to do and how much you're going to need and where that money is going to flow to in that disbursement side of it.
Hey, may I ask the other panelists if you'd like to chime in on that? Take yourself off of mute.
Yes, I agree with everything Leonard has to say. You know, somebody on that survey that Ms. China put up, one of the last question I think on that survey was how to choose a bank. And, you know, that's a very important topic because what a bank will want to see is dependent on your relationship with that bank, right? If you've never been in that bank before, they don't want to see everything from A to Z. But if you have a relationship with that bank already, hopefully this request for a loan is just part of the progression of your relationship with the bank, right? So they've already got the backstory. They've already viewed your financials. They've already been working with you on those financials, right? To get them to a suitable situation. But yeah, I agree with everything Leonard wants to say and Leonard had to say. And I will tell you this also, when you think about loans and when you think about credit worthiness, think about in your own life. We all have people in our family, in our circles who have asked to borrow money, right? And you make an evaluation. Yeah, you know, John may be good for that, but cousin Boo Boo might not. And you know that. Everybody in the family knows who's good for what, right? So a bank is the same way. They don't know you as well as you know your family. So they've got to look at the documentation. But if the bank knows you like you know your family, if you've already got that relationship, they already know you. And so the process is going to be much easier. So choosing a bank is important, but regardless of what bank you choose, you need to demand a relationship, not an 800 number. Demand a relationship. I don't care if you have $100 in the bank. They took it. They owe you a relationship, but you're not going to get it if you don't demand it. And so you need to know who's your relationship manager at that bank. When you call the 800 number, no, I want a phone number that I'm going to call in the branch and I'm going to talk to somebody and I'm going to ask them questions and they're going to give me advice. You need to demand that. And for far too long, Black and brown folks have not demanded that from a bank. So that's my answer.
And you know what,
That's
can I
excellent.
add to that? And there's no reason for that. Listen, at the end of the day, the banker is just some guy that has a wife and, you know, a dog and a cat. And he goes in, he's trying to do the right things. We really do appreciate when clients will come in and say, let's go to lunch. Let's just sit down and chat and talk about it. And we just go, oh, that makes us very comfortable. It makes us more relaxed. We are there to serve. We are heavily regulated. And if we make bad loans, we get fired. You make too many bad loans, you get fired. You're blacklisted out of the thing. You're just out of banking. That has happened. So we're always in a chronic state of fear as a banker. We always feel, you know, odd, like something bad is going to happen. So we want to get to know the clients, the customers. Come on in, just talk to us like regular folks, and man, that makes it so much nicer.
That's cool. You know what? I spent multiple years in commercial real estate construction financing, and really and truly, you're telling a story. It has to have a beginning, a middle, and an end. It has to make sense. But OC, as the chief credit advisor, credit officer, senior credit advisor, the work that you've done, we've heard that the numbers tell the story. What does that mean for a client, and which financial statements should they utilize? And the other thing I want you to add in there is talk about some of these systems that are out there that would be beneficial to folks who own their own business.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Karen. Good morning, everyone. Before I kind of go into responding to that quickly, I wanted to add one small tidbit on the first question. And I think the one thing to take away from that question, Karen and Leonard kind of hinted to it a little bit, but for me, the biggest thing is honesty. At the end of the day, I'm going to figure out everything that's bad about your business or you personally. We have the tools at our disposal to get that information, and you authorize us to get it. The earlier I know that information, the better position I will be, the better place I'll be in to be able to navigate your transaction to get you to a yes. The worst thing is hearing something in the beginning, and then when you're doing the underwriting, you're figuring out it wasn't true. That is the worst position to be in as a borrower. So you might as well just tell your banker everything up front, and we will structure the transaction in the most advantageous way to get you a yes. Karen, Robin, excuse me, please just restate the first part of the question again.
We heard that the numbers tell the story. If the numbers
Yes.
tell the story, what does that mean to a client, and what kind of financial statements should they be preparing?
Thank you. I'll start with the most obvious, and Chevy highlighted some of this. You really need to know your profit and loss statement. Your income statement truly drives the most important analyses that any banker can do in regards to your eligibility to receive a loan. And it plays into our ability to assess whether or not you have the tools at your disposal to repay us. And it's not just about us as bankers getting our monthly payment from you, but it's also that we don't want to burden you with debt that you can't afford, that's ultimately going to put you and your business in a poor position. So you really need to understand your P&L. Look at it from a monthly standpoint, look at it from a quarterly standpoint. When a banker is speaking to you, you have to understand your profit and loss standing. So that's one thing I would say. In terms of resources to tap into, I think, we started off this session speaking about one that I think is really palatable. And I love the way that Chevy went through the financial cohort session and that we have here at PCR's SBDC. I mean, it's really important to walk through each of these statements in a very simple terms and understand how bankers use them to approve or decline you on a transaction. So I would say really use our SBDC and advisors as sounding boards to understand how to best equip yourself and put yourself in the best position to be successful.
Very good. And Mr. Isaac, understand that Karen and I are always called each other's names. So whenever we're together, we're on a panel, we will always get called each other's name, which is cool because she has an exceptional reputation. Question to the panel: how much skin should someone have in the game? Loan down payment, interest rates. Be mindful of that. Maybe we'll start off with Leonard. Karen, I'll come to you, and then Mr. Isaac, I'll come to you.
Well, again, the silly first answer is 100%, but I kid. We just looked at a startup deal, and the comfortable number for the bank was about 20%. This is a situation where the banks understand that they are going to be called upon to put in probably the lion's share of this, but we're not venture capitalists. We have to get the money back. So that would be very good if we get the money back. So we want to see enough commitment on the part of the borrower that they're willing to put some cash behind their idea and put it totally at risk.
Very good. KC?
Yeah, same thing. I mean, when you think about it, if a person has got, the more skin in a game the person has, the harder it's going to be for them to walk away from the deal, right? That's how a lender looks at it. It's like if a borrower has, the more you've got in the game, the more confidence they have that you're going to stick with it through the hard times, right? But there's always going to be some sort of requirement anyway. And then if you can, top that, it just really bodes well in your favor. But even you as a person, if you're going to make an investment in something, you want to know that the person that's asking for the investment believes enough in that thing that they also want to put their own money in it, right? So yeah, you got to have skin in the game.
OC?
Yeah, I'll just echo everything that was said. The standard is 20%, but I think more important than that, you don't necessarily need to wait till you have 20% to start a business. It's about being fully invested. and fully invested for another entrepreneur might only equate to 10% of the transaction. But we know they've put all of their means within the transaction. So there's a lot of different ways that you can get comfortable around that equity requirement.
That's great. You guys, we have a lot of questions that have come up in the chat box. And what I want to, before we close out, one of the things I want you to respond to our attendees is what is one thing when our attendees leave here, they should know and understand. So we'll come back to that. But I'm going to ask our support to give us some of these questions that are in the chat box just so that we can answer them. And then the one thing I'll say before we get started, you know, always understand that when you're looking for a banking relationship and you're looking to borrow money and you're looking to establish that, you want to look for an organization that specializes in your area. So if you're in the restaurant business, you're not going to go to a bank that specializes in retail stores and that type of thing like that. So you need to be you need to have a conversation. Don't be afraid to have a conversation, because like Leonard said, these are everyday people. This is what they do for a living. We've made this banking thing so mysterious. And the beautiful thing is these four folks that you see on this screen, we're way past cool when it comes to explaining what goes on day to day in a bank, day to day with a lending process. So we're going to go to the questions in the chat. Let's see here.
All right, so there's a theme here, and I'll go with Jennifer's to start. So she's saying that she learned that some banks make it more easy to have relationships. I know Karen mentioned the relationship, i.e. Chase and Comerica are great, but Bank of America seems to treat her as a number, and she never is able to talk to the same person twice, even though I've banked there for 20 years. So how do you go about setting that relationship? So you're a smaller business, how do you get the attention?
So I have a client, she's a client of my bank and also coincidentally one of these other big ones. And she called me one day and she said, how do I find my relationship manager at the other bank? And I said, you know, I'm not sure. I said, but call whatever number you have, tell them you have an account and you want to know who's assigned to it. And then call that person up, that business banker, and tell them you want to sit down and talk about your accounts. Do you have the best account structure in place, you know, for the type of business that you have? You can ask your banker, because there are branches open now. You know, banks are considered essential workers. Every bank has some branches open. They're limited, but find one and tell them, look, I've been going through this pandemic. I need to sit down and talk to you about, you know, my account. Do I have the best account in place? I need to, you know, some advice. Just call them up and force that. But I will tell you this, if you have a hard time, then you're not with the right, and maybe it's the bank is okay, but you're at the wrong branch. You know what I mean? But I teach financial ed to high school students. And as part of their 12-week track, as part of their homework, they have to go into 3 different bank brands, right? 3 different big banks. And they got to walk in there and tell somebody that they are a student and they have some questions about their bank. And I said, see how the bank treats you. That's how you choose a bank. You choose a bank based on the way they treat you, because basically, as Robin says, some banks specialize. Some may specialize in agricultural loans. Some may specialize in, you know, this loan, these types of loans. But generally speaking, if they don't treat you well and you don't feel good in there, get out of there, because you don't deserve that. You don't deserve that. And so sometimes it takes a little bit of shopping around, right? Just like a doctor or, you know, whatever. You got to shop sometimes. But
And this
do
goes
not
to
settle, though. Do not settle.
what about the online? So Vanity mentions here about the credit union, and I think a lot of people have felt this way during the pandemic. Everything is online. So during the pandemic, how do you create, you know, a relationship when everything is online? So things have changed.
Well, you know, I would say this is the same push. You know, matter of fact, it's easier. You're sitting at your desk, you're talking to these people, they're not answering your questions. Anytime I do workshops, I always tell people, please ask a question. And if they're not responding where you can understand it, tell them, thank you for the information, but can I speak with someone else? Because somewhere along the line, you're not connecting. So I think that, you know, the online banking piece, especially if you're already an existing client, and you're asking for service and you're asking for clarity, you're asking for support, you're asking to help continue in your enterprise. And so if you're not pushing for that, it's like parents pushing on school, the principal about their school. It's like you going to the doctor pushing on them about your medical health. You know, we have to become more actively engaged in our entire lives, and especially in our financial life, especially as we go through these hard times that we've had.
Anyone else there? All right, here's one. Will a personal bankruptcy in your past exclude you from obtaining a business loan? How about when it falls off your credit reports? For
Well,
Leonard or OC? Okay.
oh, okay, so yes, I have made commercial credit loans to people with bankruptcies. It has to be basically finalized. And the older that it occurred, the better. And this is my own credit profiles that I would use, but I'd be looking for, as OC indicated, the integrity part of one of the 5 C's, which is coming up. And that is, we want to know, was there an element of integrity that caused that bankruptcy? Are we talking about a character issue, which is a character flaw that may or may not be, something that can be fixed? Or was it a cataclysmic situation financially that just about everybody would have suffered the same situation? And that's how we would look at it at the, the credit committee level. Look, if we could look at it and say, yeah, this happened to my brother. This could happen to me. This is just something, he was in the wrong place at the wrong time. We just go, okay, we get a narrative put together on an explanation of it. So when the regulators come in, they're comfortable. And yeah, we would do the deal.
Okay. All right, and this one may go to OC. Iman asked,
Colette, you're on mute.
I just lost audio.
sorry about that. Oh, I need a big sign. Come off mute. So, and OC, I was thinking this may be with you. It relates to a gas station, refinancing a gas station. So Iman has asked here, Iman B has asked about how do you refinance land that has a gas station on it? Great relationship with the banks in the past, great credit history, but always having a problem there. How do you get a commercial? Where to go? And I know one of you guys had mentioned specialty, and also you can speak to this because I know we deal with underground tanks and things like that at PCR, and our other panelists may have answers as well.
Yeah, I mean, Iman, it's a good question. Unfortunately, there isn't a silver bullet. There's a lot of subsequent questions I'll have to ask around your particular, the particular land, the location, and the gas station. But again, I think that, and I'm going to be a broken record on this. The first place is that the first response is you're at the right place. You need to come to the SBDC, speak to an SBDC advisor, right? So that you can have somebody specifically look at your situation and then map you to the appropriate bank. You can't just pick up the phone and call Bank of America, Citi, et cetera, and that work out for you. At PCR, we have a RUS program that we run on behalf of the state that focuses on underground storage facilities that are at gas stations and financing that. It's not necessarily associated with what you're trying to achieve, as there are some guidelines and prohibitions that you've probably come across that has made that not possible. It depends on the size of the transaction, whether it being in the CDFI space might work better for you, which is a certified development financial student institution like PCR, or whether you need to go to a smaller community bank. Some large banks, quite frankly, just can't touch those type of transactions. So again, we'll have to have a conversation online. I can't give you a specific answer, but it really depends on a lot of other attributes to your particular transaction or your situation you're looking at.
Yeah, and let me just chime in. I'm so glad you all are on this call. Let me just very quickly, because I didn't all the way credentialize myself, but I'm on the board of directors of PC. I've been on 2 loan committees. I've been associated with this organization for probably 20 of the 40, 45 years they've been in business. I'm also a business owner currently, been a business owner in the past, always got something going. But when my husband and my brother-in-law and I started a trucking company, 48 states, dry goods, I went to PCR and took 12 weeks of classes. I took a 12-week track, Tuesday and Thursday evenings from 6 to 9 p.m. for 12 weeks to learn and understand every single doggone thing I needed to know to run this business. And so you guys are in the right place. PCR can work out so much for you. And it saved my ASS because 3 months after I finished the 12 weeks, we had reorganized our entire office space to conform to what I had learned about organization and, taxes, all this stuff. And we were audited by the Department of Transportation because we were sued by a driver. And we were victorious because I had taken the doggone PCR class and had everything in order. And when that auditor walked into our office out in Hesperia, and he stayed for 3 days, he got a motel room, had all his equipment and stayed for 3 days. But he said when he walked into our office, he knew that it was probably going to be a good story for us just by the way he could see it was organized. So you're in the right place. I'm so glad you all are asking these questions, and any that we don't get to here, call up PCR because they have a subject matter expert that can help you very specifically, and they have relationships with almost every single bank in town.
All right, another question. This is about the skin in the game. To have 20% down for skin in the game, does that include investments that have been made to the business by silent investors? And thank you, Karen, for sharing that story too. Appreciate it. So what about investments to the business by silent investors?
Go ahead, Leonard.
Investments into the business. Are we talking about the total investment dollars that went into like a startup project?
Mm-hmm. That's what it looks like.
Yeah, so a bank will take a look at, all right, what is the total cost of the project? So the startup business is called the project, and they'll say, okay, well, it's 100,000, it's 200,000. They're going to say, well, I've been building this infrastructure to get it going. I've got 10,000 in already. I've got another 20,000 I'm putting in. We're going to go, okay, well, that's getting pretty close to our 20%. Bankers are numerically driven. We're logical. We look at the numbers. If you can illustrate history or what's going on and the logic flow, we'll probably agree with that. So.
And I'll just add to that. If you are receiving money from friends and family, the general guideline is that we don't count that as your personal equity into the loan unless you have a gift letter, unless that is truly a gift to you, that there is no recourse to that investor or family member. So just make sure you document and you note that. And from a flow of funds standpoint, it's always better to just, you don't want to just collect cash from somebody and then put it into your business. Just have it flow through something that could be cataloged and that we could verify later on.
Great, thank you.
And the whole mission here, guys, is again, what we want you guys to take away from this is the mission is to mitigate risk. You're looking at what you have to mitigate risk because banks are regulated businesses, right? And so there's guidelines that are out there, and the guidelines are out there to put up guardrails. So when you're working with your banker, when you're working with a business advisor, tell the whole story. OC said it up early on. Be honest, tell the whole story, document. Please keep your documentation so that you understand where this information came from. Because again, as I said earlier, you're telling your credit story. It has to have a beginning, a middle, and an end. It has to make logical sense, and you have to be mitigating the risk that are involved. And when we talked about gas stations, a lot of times in some of these sites, if there is environmental challenges, it could be up gradient from where you're located. It could be on your property. It could be below where you're located. So it's all over the place. So again, please understand that Pacific Coast Regional, I'm like Karen, let me just full disclosure. I sat on loan committee 40 years ago. My son will be 40 next month. I was pregnant with him when I sat on the loan committee 40 years ago. So again, we've been around this organization and we know that the services are there. We just look forward to you guys signing up and taking advantage of it.
All right, this is a great question on credit. So if my personal credit score is 805, does it transfer to my business credit? And if I'm looking to purchase property for my business, should I use personal or business accounts? And that's from LJ.
That's a good credit score, LJ. You can never go wrong there.
Keep that up.
Heck yeah.
I mean, the credit score, we got to think about what the industry is trying to accomplish. You're trying to capture a profile, a crystal ball into the willingness and ability of an individual to honor these promissory notes that they sign. So that the higher that is, the better it is. It should cross over from an integrity standpoint, obviously, over to a commercial loan. But in commercial lending, we don't generally credit score anything. I mean, some banks have, gone out and tried to do that. But essentially, it's just face to face, looking at the numbers, this sort of thing. It will cross over. It is a good indicator of character. So good for you. Good on you.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing I would add, it depends on your business and your stage of business. If you're looking to do a startup, your personal credit scores will be incredibly important to that startup, because all we could go off of is forecasted numbers on your business. So you are essentially the business to begin with. Your credit score is a big component of that. The one thing that I would say is at PCR, we do what's called storied credit. So we're not going to look at you just based on the number. We want to understand the components of the numbers. And if you have blemishes, that's fine. We just want to make sure that you're in payment plans. We want to make sure that you've established a mechanism to address those impairments, so that we could factor in that financial liability into our calculus of your ability to repay. So LJ, I just saw you're a startup, so you're you're in a very good position to have that type of a profile looking to do something.
All right, great. Oh my gosh, there are a lot of questions in here. So let's see. Michelle is asking, I was approved for a loan by my SBDC back in December for a startup business, but they're still waiting to hear back from the SBA for final approval. Is there anything to consider given like current conditions that could be holding up or finalizing the loan?
That's a good question. I've got a couple borrowers that are in similar situations to you. It's again, no silver bullet response here, but it's a combination of the lender and the SBA, right? Right now, we are formally in responding to an economic crisis, and we're still in the disaster response mode. So the SBA is a little bit overburdened with some of the new programs that are coming out, the payroll protection program, et cetera. So all of the programs have different priorities. And right now, those disaster-based programs are a little bit more prioritized than your standardized loans. So that may bog down SBA's response in order for the lender to ultimately come back to you with the formal approval. I would just suggest continue to communicate with your lender. Your lender have different mechanisms to get updates on your loan status at the SBA, but it's difficult during these times to say the word patience. I would say over communicate to your lender and do exhibit a level of patience in regards to the fact that some of those elements, like getting an SBA authorization or approval, ultimately may be out of the lender's hands once we submit it to the SBA. Still doesn't mean you don't have the right to follow up, though. Follow up as much as you want.
All right, great. All right. Robin, I don't see anything else. I might have missed something, but you guys, thank you all, the panelists, for adding comments, responding back into the notes.
There's a couple more. I see one from Jason says, if you're looking for a loan to expand your new business rather than starting a new business, is there a multiple the banks will use to cap your loan, i.e. your gross receipts for your first few years in business are 500K, your next profits for those few years average 300K after taxes and expenses. Can you expect most banks to use those numbers to limit the size of your loan?
Leonard, you want to tackle this first? Or you want me to?
I'm not clear what the question is. Can we go back over some of the? It started sounding like he was asking like a commercial real estate transaction or something, but is this just a standardized business? Does it indicate it's a standardized business and he just wants to get additional term capital?
Yeah, I think what the client is getting at is based on your profitability of your business, is there a cap, a max loan amount that a bank would give you if you were looking to do anything else with your business to expand it?
I'm sorry. Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, the conventional wisdom in commercial lending is we identify the borrowing cost. we find out, well, why are you coming in and asking for the loan? What happened? It could be a variety of things in commercial lending that causes that person to come in. So the question is kind of may not fit, because it's not like you wouldn't go in and go, how much, I have a business, how much can I get? How much do I qualify for?
Mhm.
And this would happen when we'd have clients come in on Monday morning, they go to a party on Saturday night, they find out their buddy who owns a business, hey, he got a $500,000 credit line from his bank, and I want a $500,000 credit line now.
Mhm.
So those, we used to call them ego lines. But my style was, and my training was, we establish a borrowing cause, and then that number that you need is the number that you need, justified by some projection model that says, at these milestone dates, we're going to run short. We will need more working capital. That's the source of this. So we just approach it that way. I hope that kind of answers and brings some clarity.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was a good response. I think the one thing I would add to it is, to the client's point of, is there a cap? The short answer is no, there isn't a cap. You could have a $100,000 business netting $20,000 a year, but you could have secured state and city contracts that are now $2.5 million, and you're looking to finance that receivable base, right? There's a lot of different situations where the loan amount or the facility that we may need to put to your business may be greater than what your business is right now, because your business or your enterprise is growing. I think a lot of it goes into some of the things we talked about earlier. What's the support for this growth? Like, is there a receivable stream? In other words, is there a contract revenue stream that we could secure or look at to give you a larger loan than your business can ask for? Also, if your business is netting 300,000, okay, did you take a significant portion of those profits and put it against this project to expand your business? Again, we talked about the 20% level. If you're looking for a $500,000 deal and you rip off 100,000 and put it towards this new project, yeah, maybe we could finance 400,000. There is no silver bullet. But I think the important thing, and I'm going to bring it back to Chevy and the SBDC's class, you need to understand what you're coming to the bank asking for. And the only way to do that is you have to understand what your business is and how best to present your business and your idea. That's what it's really about.
Mhm. There's another question here directly for PCR. It says, we have a half acre in Pasadena zoned for an additional 11 units. Can PCR and associates assist us in engaging property developers for homeless/supportive housing projects? And do you have linkages with community supportive housing? Oh, that's a good question for this group right here.
I sent them an individual text about that.
Okay, cool.
SCAMP is one of the best organizations out there if you're going to be in the affordable housing sector. You're in Pasadena, you want to work with the development department for the city of Pasadena so that you can find out what other services they may be able to offer. But SCAMP would be a great organization. SCANPH.org would be the perfect organization to identify partners. What the criteria is, what additional fundings are available, the banks that are actively engaged in affordable housing. I spent 7 years doing that. It's one of my favorite things to do. And God bless you for what you're trying to do.
Right, thank you. And so one last question, I think, is it's very difficult to do financial projection models at this time for new loans. Do you have any suggestions? This is from Celeste.
Boy, that's a tough one. Well, typically a bank, I would look at multiple scenarios. So I'd use a projection model, worst case, most likely case. The world financially is kind of broken, so we don't really know what's going to happen economically. So if you're going to put a projection together, you have to be very, very kind of make the almost worst case the most likely case, or be very, very conservative with the numbers. Don't say, real high number if you want to be on the lower side, because if you don't achieve the higher numbers, the question is, does it cash flow? So it is really hard to guess to the response of the market, what kind of sales is going to be generated. That is, everybody's struggling with that right now. So
yeah, I mean, I think this, Celeste, this is a great question. We're really big, and we're focusing right now at PCR and our SBDC on mechanisms to get capital to startup enterprises. This is going to be one of the biggest things that we focus on. So I'm happy this question was raised. I would just say, it's a little bit obvious what you need to kind of do before you start putting the numbers on paper, right? First of all, you want to take a look at your business type, right? Are you in an industry right now that is considered to be somewhat COVID-19 repellent? Is it an essential business that you're looking, or an essential enterprise that you're looking to start? These are the things that start to get a banker comfortable with what you're looking to do, right? If you're looking to start a business right now and it's a urgent care facility somewhere else and you were an independent doctor before, yeah, you know what, I want some of that. That makes sense. We're going to need that. You're doing COVID-19 testing, whatever it may be. You want to basically position yourself in a way when you're looking at the projections as to what your revenue streams or your income streams, which ones you feel very comfortable with given the circumstance of COVID-19 are real. Are you selling online? You want to put that narrative behind your projections. The days of just submitting a projection model with showing a 5 or 10% growth per annum, those are over. You need to really have a narrative as to why we think you start in a new enterprise in the midst of this COVID environment makes sense. And trust me, there are a lot of businesses right now that it makes a lot of sense to start with, but you definitely want to show some dynamic, some range in the way your revenues come in. And online sales is something right now that I've been seeing in a lot of the startup businesses that we've been looking at.
All right, anyone else for that? All right. Oh, this is a great one. Startups in 2020 have not prepared taxes to present at this time. Do you have strategies for this for lending opportunities?
I'm not
Well,
prepared to.
they're always going to look at your historical, and again, you need to prepare projections. So yeah, you may not have filed your 2020 tax returns yet, but you certainly can do projections based on your historical information.
Yeah. So, and you're 100% right, Robin. I think the one thing, just to be a little specific, we'll be looking at you're a startup, so we're going to be looking at your personal tax returns. You have no business tax returns at this point, so you have your 2019 personal tax returns files, and we're probably going to look at either your W-2 or something like that, your most recent pay stub at the end of 2020 to get an assessment of what income you brought in for 2020. We're not going to expect you to have tax returns done for that period yet. So there's a lot of different ways to show us the income that you made in 2020 that we could put into our evaluation.
All right. All right. So Robin, should we go with the trivia question or the last question?
I think we should go with the trivia question, and then we'll circle back with our last question about the little tidbit that each one of our advisors can provide.
China, are you ready to run the poll? Oh, no. All right. China's going to run a poll. You guys, it's a trivia question, and we're going to give you some good feedback on this. These are the 5 C's. One of the things that each of our panelists have talked about, and you guys have asked questions about, is credit. So please take a moment and note which ones are the 5 C's. Which of these are the 5 C's? And then we will discuss it further. All right, thank you for your input. 20 seconds. Karen's going to start singing the Jeopardy song in a minute. All right. All right, you guys better hurry.
Oh, that's crazy.
All right, so let us end the polling now. All right. All right, thank you. And let's share the results. So we see here some credit, conversation, concept, connection, and collateral, capital, credit, character, connection, capacity. Good. the one that has capital or character, capital, and common sense. We wish it was just that capacity and conditions. And then the last one is conditions, character, capacity, capital, and collateral, or all of the above. The answer is the one in red, which is D. And with that, we are going to talk a little bit about that with our panelists here today.
It really seems like it should be 6, huh? Because common sense, in my opinion, should be.
It should be in there, but
I 1000%
They
agree
don't,
with
they
you.
don't have it in there because the common sense isn't very common.
yeah, right. That's what we shared. So, all right. So I think Leonard's going to start us off, but let's talk a little bit about the 5 C's. And so we wanted to share that poll with you. These are always learning opportunities. Do you know what the 5 C's are? This is like critical to the banking community. So we want you to know what they are. So Leonard, start us off.
Okay, so character, to a banker, that means integrity. It's integrity. You know, who you are, where have you been, what's your life been all about payment wise. You want me to go through the whole list real fast?
And then, yes, and our other panelists.
Okay, and then we'll just all hear. Capacity would be the cash flow numeric ability to repay. Capital is, now some people would kind of consider this injection capital, but it's really the report card of a business, right? The net worth of the business, what's left over after you liquidate everything. That's your report card. Conditions, again, there's a splitting thing here. For consumer credit, conditions might be the term, but for your good old fashioned old, conditions regarding, I flipped them off from my list, sorry about that. Conditions would be internal and external, not necessarily connected to the business that's borrowing, but it would be the state of the lender, because lenders have internal conditions that block them from lending from time to time, and the state of the economy. We see what's happening with the economy right now. There's a condition that is occurring that is kind of making it difficult to do the lending thing. And then collateral is just the good old fashioned hard assets that you put up on as collateral on a loan. Those are the 5 C's.
And I encourage you all to learn these. I had my own business. I even got a commercial loan, but I really didn't understand this well enough. And so you guys dig in, figure this out and how it relates to your business so that you can be more successful to get the money that you need going forward. All right. So I'm going to turn it back over to Robin for our final panelist question.
So the final question again, guys, you've had a great conversation about now and some excellent questions from our audience. You know, what a bunch of us have been texting back and forth in this chat box, responding to some of the other questions. So the most important thing to me, the takeaway today, and I'm going to lead this off, is are you a PCR client? And if you're not, you need to sign up immediately, because the questions that you guys are generating, each one of you guys, every deal is different. Every situation is different. So we want to get personal with you. We want to be targeted with you in our response and in our feedback and our support. And the wonderful thing I like about Pacific Coast Regional is we work as a team. So some folks are really, really good at analytics. Some folks are good at marketing. We have a restaurant academy. So we are literally pulling together things that are needed in the marketplace. So my takeaway would be, are you a client? And if you're not, why not? Karen, OC, Leonard. The question is, what one thing when our attendees leave here, they should understand and know?
Okay, I think they should understand and know that they are worthy of a good banking relationship. They are worthy of getting information that they need. They are worthy of getting answers that they need. And let me tell you something, if a banker cannot break down for you in layman's terms so that you understand the answers that you're seeking, it's not the right person, it's not the right place for you. So just understand that sometimes you can walk in a place and they can make you feel like you're not supposed to be there. And if that's the feeling you get, run, because you shouldn't feel that way. You should not feel that way. Again, I don't care if you only have $5. Mm-hmm. Demand respect, and if you don't get it, run. you will get respect here at PCR, and they will teach you anything and everything you need to know. And like I said, they have a relationship with almost every bank in this city, and they'll introduce you to the right one. But I had such, as a banker, I started with Wells Fargo Bank when I was 25 years old, and on the corporate side. And even as a banker, um, I often felt that I, was not worthy, that I was not welcome. And when I had issues and had to file bankruptcy around the age of 30, even as a banker, I didn't know where to go, where to get help, who to talk to, because I didn't feel welcome. And I just really have been on a quest to make sure that, people I interface with do not feel that way.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very good, Karen. We all want to feel as we're worthy. I have my religious philosophies that everybody is on the same worthiness playing field, but unfortunately in society today, a lot of people don't get that memo. Adding to what Karen was talking about, let's use that as a standard. Go in there and boldly take that position. You'll see that they will respond. But the commercial lending thing is a big process. So it's not like an auto loan. There's a lot of moving parts, a lot of variables. So it requires a degree of patience. But if you get the right person, as Karen indicated, then that will be your person. They will walk you through it. They'll help you through it. And that's kind of what we do here at the SBDC. We understand how that works. And so we can prep you up. We can here's the things you say, here's the things you don't have to bring up. And it just makes everybody's job easier, makes the lender's job easier as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think my one takeaway, it's kind of 1A and 1B. Again, to reiterate what I said before, I think there's 90 something or so people here. You have to look at the contact information below and become a client. Even if you don't become a client, have the conversation to understand what makes sense for you to become a client or to do what going forward. The resources here. A lot of people have been contacting me about what's the best way to reach me. I mean, our SBDC, Colette is a member of our leadership team, and we talk daily. So best way to reach me is through Colette and the SBDC. I would just say, I love what Karen's been saying, because sometimes you get on these sessions and, everybody gets all verbose and talking all these big terms. And I think what you guys have learned from us here is that we're regular people just like you, right? We're in the non-judge. We're not judgy. We're not any of those things. I get no joy in saying no to a client. I'm a lender, a credit officer. I want to say yes. It's easy to find a reason to say no to every client. Every client, every loan I've ever done, I could find a reason to say no. The hard part of the job is figuring out how to say yes. And at PCR, we pride ourselves in trying to get very creative in ways that we can't say yes to a client. There is no profile that is so disastrous that we can't begin to work with you. The work may not begin with a loan from us. It may begin with you working on yourself and one of our great advisors here guiding you through building yourself in order to come and ultimately get a loan from us. So again, that's the way I want you to think about our organization and all the people that have been involved here. You've got board members all the way down. We take this very seriously, and we know these are difficult times for you. So the takeaway is contact us and let us start putting you on the path, hopefully to success.
Well said, OC.
I raise my hand again because my background, I have a journalism degree and I came here and fell into lending. And with that, that's why I always talk about the story. You are actually telling a story. And what I can say is this: you need the right tools in your toolbox. PCR can help you identify those tools. What happens is people want to start their business, they're in the midst of the business, and they want to be in the go fast mode. You can't be in the go fast mode. We are in a pandemic. Folks are starting to work off of Zoom and from home. This has never happened before. I was a lender for 27 years. I know what I'm doing, but I'm still having to learn all of these other tools in order to be able to be effective. So what I'm saying to you guys again is take the time to sign up and ask questions. And the team, we work as a team. That's what I love about this process. There are specialists in just about any area that you can come up with that's a part of this team. So again, take advantage of it. And again, you know, you guys are already winners because you signed up for today. That's a big plus.
All right. Well, we want to thank our panelists and our moderator for today. You guys, great information. Trust me, I'm learning something every day. I'm not a banker. I have a marketing background and some operations and manufacturing, but I am happy to be around really, really great bankers that they know this business, they understand banking. And so we are thrilled to have them on. So thank you, Karen, Leonard, and OC for all of your information, and Robin as well for moderating. And we've got some prizes for you guys. So I'm like, don't go away. So that's what I know. We do have some additional information to share as well. But great job for our panel, and thank you guys for agreeing to share great nuggets with our clients and those that will be soon our clients as well. So let's
Let me
go
just-
to the
one
go ahead.
last thing too. Colette is so modest, everybody, but she had an award-winning business in Culver City, an award-winning, like the city gave her awards. So she's modest, but it's just a terrific staff at PCR, because everybody at PCR has been out there in the trenches before they got to PCR. So
Yeah.
you're in such good hands.
And I'll say the trenches weren't always nice either. So I know about deep, ugly trenches too, you guys. So we want to avoid the deep, ugly trenches. We want to be in the little shallow trenches that we can step out of, right? So, and hopefully financial knowledge will help you guys to do that as well. So we're going to move forward, and China, you're going to take us through. Do I need to stop sharing?
I actually sent you the link for the spin the wheel.
All right, so
Yes.
I'm going to bring that up. I have it here, but for some reason I can't get it up. So give me 1 second. Because you guys' names are on the spinning wheel. So
Yes.
You definitely want to go. You want to stay on.
Stay on. And then for
So-
those that are the winners, can you make sure that you send your email into the chat so that I can save it and we can send you your prize?
So this is new technology. Don't we love new technology? I'm hoping that all the businesses on this call are using some of the technology available to keep things fun and exciting for your business and for your staff and for your clients as well. All right, so click to spin. Woo-hoo. And the winner here is Desi SG. All right. So congratulations, Desi. And you are a winner of...
And everybody knows it too.
So please, Desi, put your email in the chat, please.
All
and
right.
we'll have 2 more winners too. So if you could spin it 2 more times, call it.
All right, great. And so, yes, you guys are, let me find it. Oh, here we go.
While she's spinning that, you guys, let me just tell you that the Karen A. Clark Project, she is an entertainer. She's magnificently entertainer, spoken word, jazz, and I'm like the front person. So, so know that the girl can sing. The girl can sing. She's an excellent entertainer. All right,
So this is John. But John, you need to let us know who you really are, because there are a couple of Johns that I saw on there. John,
Yes.
You will receive one of those books as well.
Please put your email in the chat.
All right.
I see Desi did.
Okay, thank you, Desi. All right, and Maddie.
Hey, that didn't look right.
I see you, Maddie. All right. All right.
Awesome.
So, and these are, one is a financial statements book. So Chevy talked about that. So you guys can get primer, but then get help with your advisor. And then the secrets of raising capital. This is from one of our advisors, Michael Manahan. So we want you guys to be well abreast. And then just finally, everybody's a winner. China is putting into the chat a financial calendar. It's just a digital version, but it's a financial calendar for 2021. So you guys don't forget those important dates for your taxes. And if you feel like there's something else we need to be part of, need to put on the calendar, this is our first time doing this, but it's a financial calendar for you, mostly covers federal. There's a link there for California and then LA City. So make sure that you utilize that for your business. Don't miss any dates, because I can tell you missing dates is a really bad thing. You end up with all those penalties. The penalties are worse than the first payment. So don't miss dates. Do not miss important dates if you can. You can do that. Then finally, for those of you that have not applied for the California Relief Grant, so this is not a loan. This is a grant with the state of California. If you have not applied for that already, it closes on February 8th. This is the website here, the California Relief Grant. So if China or Briagini can also put that into the link, and you guys are aware of that. So, and it is a lottery style process. Finally, or a couple of other things for the future of restaurants, we have a big Restaurant Academy event coming in 2 weeks with Greg Doolin from Doolin Soul Food and Jeanette Bolden from 27th Street Bakery, and then Cisco. And these are second and third generation businesses, and then Cisco as well. So whether you have a restaurant or not, you could still benefit from the knowledge that will be shared at this event. So we look forward to seeing you there. And then also in February, we have Connect with your customers and manage your business. And this is a Grow with Google event. And this is something I look at for our clients all of the time. You guys, I'm always looking at your websites and always looking at your Google to see how I can connect. And you can ask the advisors, they get notes from me on stuff like this. So I'm like, I can't find this and I can't see them here. So you guys want to be found, and you want to be found well. And I did know that someone had asked about the 12 classes, 12 class workshop that Karen had mentioned. Karen just put the pressure on, so we're going to have to look at something like that again. In the meantime, we do have a lot of different workshops available to you, from PPP forgiveness. Get that forgiveness, guys. That loan becomes a grant. Free money when you get your forgiveness. You have to apply for forgiveness. And I have research that shows that a high portion of people are not applying for forgiveness. And if you need help putting your numbers back together, get it, and then go to this workshop and then work with your advisor. Business plan essentials, disciplined entrepreneurship, disaster loan training every Wednesday, marketing during uncertainty, and then restaurant classes that we have, safe, clean kitchens, and then restaurant planning. And those classes rotate, and we'll talk more about those as well. Yes, and I see, thank you, Hadab. Some lenders have not provided the information for forgiveness yet. Keep checking, because they should be providing that to you. Forgiveness is going through the process with the SBA. So I'm not quite sure what some of the lenders are waiting for, but that's a great question, and continue to keep checking with your lender. All right. Then you can contact us here. We put into the chat the info@pcrsbdc.org. That's a great way to connect with us. And phone is not the best way, but we're constantly checking our email, partly because of our remoteness, but we're on that email constantly. And so I just want to thank all of our panelists and Robin again, and then our team, China Spikes, Briagini. Where are you, Briagini? She's hiding. Briagini Sanders is behind the scenes, and she's been an awesome help helping us to put this program together. Thank you for our other advisors that are on the call. You guys can wave if you're showing yourselves, and some of you may have spoken with them. So we thank you all so much for coming today. Hope that this was of value to you, and we look forward to seeing you at our upcoming workshops and special events. Learn all you can, put your key things into practice, like the things that you heard today, and you will help your business to be ever more successful and sustainable in the future. So thanks, everybody. And wait, before you go, I have to play one thing. Don't go, because I have to play this so that you guys can hear this. For those of you that missed it, with all the information you all got today, I hope that you all take that to the bank. All right? I can't show the video, I'll date myself, but you guys have a wonderful day, and thank you all for coming. Have a great day.
Happy Black History Month.
Happy Black History Month. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for those showing their faces. Nice to see real people. Take that to the bank, everybody. Have a wonderful day.
All right.
All right. Bye-bye.
That turned